Welcome to Backstage with Jeffrey Morrissey. I'm your host, Jeffrey Morrissey. This is a special show for three reasons. I'm joined by Fright and Rabbit. How are you guys today?
Good, thanks. Really
now,
good.
I said special because this is the first time we've ever had a band on twice in our 115 guests. Special because it's the first time we're talking about an album that isn't technically in cycle. And third reason is, in my experience, y'all have always been one of the nicest and best bands to work with. So a special one for us. I can't thank you guys enough for making the time.
Thank you for having us.
So we're here to talk about the Midnight Organ Fight a little bit. So I guess we'll start with this. When I say that, the Midnight Organ Fight, what's the first thing that comes to y'all's mind other than the tour that we're on right now?
Midnight Organ Fight. Well, what comes to my mind would be being 21, upstate New York, in a studio for the first time and not really having a clue what to do. That's first thing that comes to my mind.
Wow.
My experience is slightly different because I wasn't actually in the band when the album came out.
Okay.
I've been with the guys for about maybe 4 or 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
but from a fan's perspective, and I was friends with them back then. It was one of the best albums I'd ever heard. You know, you could tell immediately it was gonna, potentially take off the way it did.
It totally did, and I know this is a much more popular album in Europe, where the U.S. fans, it's more like the entire catalog. So how has it been playing it in the U.S.?
It's been great. Like I feel that everywhere we go, especially over here, it is the most popular album. Like you're saying, like all albums are popular here, but I think this one just connected with the fans. Like it's from day one. It's just been amazing to play it from start to finish, and see the crowd's reaction, knowing that they know what song's coming next. It's just so great.
And what's been one of those songs that when y'all look out that you see people are really kind of getting into and connecting with? I
would say The Twist is one, because we haven't played that for so long, and now putting it back, it's in the set now every night. It's like seeing the crowd reaction to that. I've noticed a big reaction every night. That stands out for me.
And then another one that I don't hear too often or see in set lists is Square 9, which is great to kind of see making it come back too. But you guys sort of divide the show in an interesting way. You do like 3 or 4 songs at the start that aren't Midnight, and then the album, and then again 3 or 4 that aren't. So what was the process like for picking which songs were going to sort of support this tour?
Well, there's been a bit of a rotating lineup of songs for those bits. Because we're doing a lot of venues 2 nights in a row, there's going to be a few people coming to both shows, so we change it up. But it's kind of just cherry picking some of the, I guess, the bangers, from the rest of the albums, sort of fan favourites.
Yeah, more energetic, upbeat ones.
Started playing Swim Until You Can't See Land.
Oh yes.
For the first time in a while, and it feels quite fresh again, which is good. Yeah.
Well, nice. And do you find that when you are playing sort of like an album 10 years ago, does it still feel fresh to you? Like if this was made in 2018, I'd be with it.
I think it does. Yeah, it still feels fresh to me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not grown old at all. It's still. I mean, there's so many parts of that set that are so fun to play. Even it doesn't get boring.
Now, if you guys could go to one show and sort of see like one band perform their entire album cover to cover, which album might that be for y'all?
There was actually, this is quite a cheesy one, Hell's for Heroes. I used to love a band called Hell's for Heroes. I think their album was called Neon Bible, and it was out 15 years ago, and we literally just missed they did an anniversary show in Glasgow 3 nights ago.
Oh.
And that was the one I was really looking forward to going to, and unfortunately I missed it.
I'm going to go a bit cooler than that and say Brian Eno. Maybe, I guess, is it Music for Airports?
Oh, okay, nice.
That would be cool. I don't know if that ever happened live, but I'd watch that.
There we go. You would be at the show if it did exist. And then so one of my favorite songs on this is Head Rolls Off, which is a great one. And that whole line, make tiny changes to Earth. So to bring that a little bit more local, what have been the changes that y'all have made since the Midnight Organ Fight? The tiny changes to the band, shift in dynamics, new members that have made Fright and Rabbit something that's been able to carry on for this long.
I think, we've changed the way we work in the studio, like instrumentation wise and stuff, introducing more like electronic sounds. So we've kind of progressed a bit and moved away from just guitars. I think that's one big thing that's kept us going musically in the studio.
I think that was mainly Andy Monaghan joined the band after these guys had recorded Organ Fight, and and he, I think, even from the very start, brought a lot of, more experimentation for the albums that came after that. He's kind of more of a tech head than everyone else. But yeah, sure. Then it turned into a 5-piece. Was that maybe 2010? Yeah.
And then one of the things that I've always admired about this record is the sequencing on it. And it tells the story from start to finish. For listeners who aren't familiar, the first song is, "A cripple walks amongst you, all you tired human beings." And the album ends with, "And we'll soon go." So was sequencing something that y'all thought of a lot of when making this record specifically, that there was sort of a narrative, or not even narrative, but a story that is told throughout?
I actually can't remember that being a big thing when we were doing it at all. But I mean, we must have thought about it quite a bit, or Scott would have been thinking about it. But for me, I just stepped back and let like Peter and Scott deal with it. Peter Catus. But yeah, I don't think. I didn't think about it that much.
Scott was talking about this last night, about the fact that the song "I Feel Better" comes second in the record. But he says because it's second, it kind of then reveals itself to be a total lie.
Yeah. Because it's a song I'll write about you, and it isn't.
It's it's only the second. Yeah.
And someone was kind enough to point that out in the middle of the show last night and yell it wasn't, or something to that effect, which is, it's always nice to kind of see that interaction.
Yeah, it's a pretty chatty crowd last night.
It really was.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I saw Julian Baker here too, probably like right when Sprained Ankle came out.
Oh, amazing.
Same thing, same crowd dynamic like at a Julian Baker show, and I was just sort of looking around being like, God, really?
I've seen Julian Baker command an audience better than anyone I've ever seen. Like absolute silence. She's incredible.
Yeah, the year that y'all played Newport Folk, she came out Sunday and did a set, and just started crying at the end, and the whole audience just sort of stood up around her and gave a 5-minute ovation.
Oh, wow.
It was like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
So a great artist, and appears on the Recorded Songs EP. Do y'all know how that came about? Sort of the story behind that.
She supported us in a few shows. I guess was it last year, 2 years ago? During the Painting of a Panic Attack tour. So we kind of got to know her then. We knew she was a fan of us, and it was mutual, We'd been listening to her album quite a lot. But it was actually, that collaboration was done via email. So it was, we had recorded it in various locations. I think some of it was recorded in Texas at a recording session. The rest of it back in Glasgow. We sent her the track and she put her vocal on it.
Wow, that's
It was
awesome.
Fun. It's a fun way to do it.
It's really good.
And that whole EP is just so strong too. I really like it, especially Rained On. That track gets me every time. But another sort of thing, not quite the 10-year anniversary, but this is also, not this week, but very close to it, the 5-year of Pedestrian Verse as well. Have you guys given any thought to that at all? Any thoughts about that record at another sort of anniversary time?
No.
I guess we couldn't just kind of keep doing anniversary tours for the rest of
it. Yeah, exactly. You have to have records to turn old, I guess.
We really have to make a new album soon.
Get on the new record first.
Yeah.
Well, I make pledges never to bring up a new record, but since y'all just did mention something, when might be able to think about a new record?
I mean, we're working on it. Currently working in the studio. We're doing a bunch of writing, a bunch of demos. We've got a nice few tracks.
Yeah, there's a bunch of songs. Realistically, it'll be early next year, I guess. I mean, unless we really pull the finger out and manage to get an album written and recorded in the next few months, I think it'll be 2019.
Yeah.
Well, nice. Well, I will be looking forward to that for sure. I know y'all have a busy day today, so I'll make this my last question. Who are y'all been listening to? Who have been some bands that have been spinning in the road?
Man, me and Scott have been listening to the Bar Brothers album from last year. I can't remember the name of the album, but it's 2017 one. Almost every day for about a month I've been listening to it. We saw them live, just incredible live band. Yeah. Amazing guitar player. It's that's definitely worth checking out.
I've been listening to Julian Baker, a lot of her new records. She's on repeat on my iPhone constantly. I just love her. Fall asleep to her every night almost.
Well, there you go. We have something in common there. My guest today has been Frightened Rabbit. We've been talking about the Midnight Organ Fight 10-year. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Think we can do it again for 10 years in Pedestrian Verse? Maybe not the tour, but the conversation?
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
As long as I've not been sacked before then, I'll see you there.
So me too. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.